My side gig that week was installing smart locks for a property manager who paid cash. My role was the guy who swaps hardware fast, and my plan was to hit Unit 3B at 6:30 p.m., test the keypad twice, leave a manual on the counter, and be out before the tenant got home. Todd, the manager, loved the word vacant, like it was a spell that erased rules. The work order said the unit was vacant until Friday, but Todd still texted me like I was breaking into a place for him. Door code, keypad model, and then, for no reason, tenant was a problem. Don't get sucked into stories. I texted back asking why a vacant unit had a tenant. He didn't answer. He just sent a thumbs up and get it done. I'll meet you Friday for the rest. Cash work means nobody want a record, and it already had me pissed off before I even hit the stairs because if something went sideways, I knew exactly who would pretend they'd never heard of me. The hallway stank like fried onions and old carpet. Same buzzing light, same dead plant by the stairwell, same peeling, loitering sign that made people loiter harder. 3BS door sat cracked open, just a finger width. I stopped with my tool bag hanging off one shoulder and stared at that sliver. Vacant units don't sit open. I knocked anyway because I'm not dumb. No answer. I knocked again, harder, then pushed in with 2 fingers. Heat rolled out like someone had been breathing in there. Not radiator heat. Body heat trapped in a room. My stomach dipped. The living room looked half-finished, not empty. Folding chair, a grocery bag, drywall dust in a neat arc like somebody swept it with their shoe. The deadbolt I was supposed to replace was already off. Screws on the floor in a little pile, sorted. Tools I didn't bring, flathead, tape measure, a magnetic tray, laid out like someone had a routine. My first thought was maintenance. My second thought was, why didn't Todd mention anyone else coming through? My third thought was darker. What if whoever did this was still here and wanted me to see it? I backed out a step, careful, and that's when I heard a soft click behind me, like a bathroom latch. Not a slam, not a bang, just a tiny, confident click that said someone touched something on purpose. I turned. The door hadn't closed, but it had shifted inward, like a shoulder brushed it from inside. My phone came up on instinct. No signal. Nothing. I walked 2 steps into the hallway, still dead, then tried again inside. Nothing. I called Todd anyway just to hear it fail and got silence. Not even a ring. That's when fear stopped being a vague feeling and turned into a plan. Get out. But panic makes you do stupid, shitty math. I pictured Todd telling cops I was the one who removed the lock. I pictured him refusing to pay and acting like I stole hardware. I pictured a tenant coming home, seeing me in their unit and swinging first. I also pictured my tools locked inside if that door clicked shut for real, because I'd left my bag just inside the threshold like a moron. So I stepped back in, jaw locked, telling myself I'd grab a quick photo of the door, swap the lock, and bounce. I moved through the apartment fast, scanning for a person and finding only signs of one. The air smelled like sweat under cheap air freshener. The bedroom door was half open. The carpet inside felt damp under my boots, like something spilled and never dried. Near the closet, I saw a stripped wire on the floor, copper showing. It didn't belong to any lock job. I nudged it with my boot, and it slid like it had been handled a lot. And for a second, I thought about tripwires and alarms and felt my throat tighten. I opened the closet and saw a square of fresh paint behind 2 empty hangers. 2 clean, 2 straight. In the center of it was a second door, fresh paint, no knob, just a pull hole. Someone had cut it into the drywall like they owned the place. I stared at it and my brain tried to be rational. Access panel, cable run, maintenance shortcut. But my hands were already sweating and my mouth tasted like pennies. I hooked 2 fingers into the hole and yanked. Stink hit me so hard I gagged. Rotting takeout and old sweat, piss in a bucket, dirty blankets cooked by body heat. The space behind the wall wasn't a crawl space. It was a little room framed with studs, like someone built a nest inside the apartment. There was a bucket with a trash bag liner, greasy containers stacked like someone cared about neatness, a cheap lantern, and a mattress pad folded into a lump. and on the studs, stapled up like trophies, were Polaroids. Not prints from a phone. Actual Polaroids, thick and waxy, the kind you have to wait for, the kind you don't take by accident. Tenants, in their own homes, sleeping, showering, sitting on the toilet with their head in their hands, crying into phones. One shot showed a guy staring at his kitchen sink like he wanted to drown himself in it. Another had a woman asleep on her couch, bra strap slipped, mouth open, flash bleaching her skin. There was one a kid in a Spider-Man shirt passed out on a bed. That one made my stomach flip because it didn't feel like creepy anymore. It felt like hunting. The angles were wrong in a way that told me the person taking them wasn't outside a window or in a hallway. They were inside, close, taking their time. They weren't old trophies in a box. They were current. Someone had been living right behind drywall, watching people live their lives, then pinning the proof up like a damn calendar. I started grabbing at the Polaroids like an idiot, like I could scoop them up and run and that would fix it. My fingers shook and my breath turned loud in that little room. I pulled one loose by accident, and the staple tore paper with a dry rip. Then the floor creaked behind me. Not the building settling. A step. I froze so hard my shoulders cramped. I turned and saw a man in the hallway, holding my drill like it belonged to him. He grinned and raised one finger to his lips. My brain tried to argue with what my eyes saw. That drill had been in my tool bag. That tool bag was on my shoulder. I didn't feel anyone touch me. So either I was losing my mind or he'd been right there the whole time, close enough to lift it without a sound. His grin didn't move his eyes. His eyes looked awake and hungry, like this was the point of the whole setup, like the door being cracked was bait and I was the idiot fish. I could smell him from the hallway too. Sweat and something sour, like the room had leaked onto him. I bolted. I slammed the hidden door shut out of reflex and sprinted through the bedroom, through the living room, aiming for daylight like it was a lifeboat. I tripped on the stripped wire and went down hard, shoulder first. Pain cracked through me and something popped. I made this ugly noise, half shout, half choke, and I hated myself for it because it felt like giving him a reward. I got up anyway, crashed into the door frame, and hurled myself into the hallway. I didn't look back. I just ran. The stairwell door stuck for half a second, and I almost blacked out from pure panic. Then it gave, and I stumbled down the stairs two at a time, bad arm hanging useless and hot, shoulder grinding like it wasn't seated right anymore. I hit the lobby, and my phone grabbed one bar, near the front glass like the building finally allowed it. I called 911 with shaking fingers and spit out words that didn't sound real. Closet room, photos, a man, my drill. While I waited, I kept staring at the elevator doors like they'd open and he'd step out calm as a tenant, smiling, blending right into the building's normal misery. I just paced, sweating in the cold lobby air, trying not to throw up. The cops showed up, 2 uniforms first, then another. They looked at me like I was a contractor trying to cover his ass. One asked why I went inside if the door was open. I snapped back that it was my job and that I knocked. My voice came out hard and shaky, and that made them watch me closer instead of believing me. I showed them the work order. I showed them the lock kit. I told them Todd paid cash and wouldn't answer my calls, and that got me a look like of course he does. I kept saying the closet like it was a prayer. They finally moved, one in front, one behind, and every step felt like walking into a mouth. 3BS door was closed now, fully closed. The hallway smelled the same as before, like nothing had happened. The cop knocked. No answer. He pushed in. The apartment felt cooler, cleaner. The screws by the door were gone. The random tools were gone. My drill was gone. We went straight to the bedroom. I yanked the closet open with my good hand and pointed at the wall, babbling now, because I could feel it slipping away and I needed them to see it before it vanished again. There was no seam, no pulole, no second door, just a smooth wall, newly painted. The cop pressed his thumb against it and pulled back with a tacky smear. We stood there breathing paint and silence, and I felt myself go cold all over. Just fresh paint drying, still tacky like a tongue. I worked at an e-waste place that bought pallets of used laptops. My role was wipe drives, log serials, don't ask questions, and my plan that night was to clear a rush order for a local school district and go home with my hands smelling like metal and dust. One laptop wouldn't boot, so I pulled the drive and plugged it into my station. The warehouse never really got clean. Fans shoved hot air around, and everything you touched left that gray film on your fingers. Pallets came in shrink-wrapped and tagged with stuff like auction lot, surplus, unclaimed, and we tore them open like it was just inventory. You get them fast in that job. You stop thinking about the lives and the machines. You see a folder called Dad Hospital, and you don't open it. You see tax PDFs, and you don't read them. You do the wipe, you log the serial, you move on, because the whole operation runs on not caring. That drive mounted instantly, and the folders came up like it wanted attention. No family photos, no resumes, just folders named by dates and addresses. Real street numbers with abbreviations, the kind you copy off a mailbox, not the kind you invent. My brain tried to make it normal. Home inspections, insurance claims, some contractor who documented jobs. I clicked one folder before my better sense could grab my wrist. Inside were videos shot from waist height. Hallways, bedroom doors, kids' rooms. The camera never spoke, just breathed. You could see the bob of someone walking, like the phone was held low on purpose. Every clip ended quick, like the person filming didn't want to stop moving. That's what made my stomach turn, because it didn't look like someone showing off a house. It looked like someone sneaking through it. I felt heat crawl up my neck and my hands go cold at the same time. I sat there staring like an idiot, trying to convince myself I was overreacting. Then I did the thing I'll hate myself for forever. I kept looking because I wanted it to become something else if I stare hard enough. I took a quick picture of the file list with my phone. Not to be a hero, just to have something, because I knew the second I hit wipe, it would vanish and I'd be left with my own word, which doesn't mean shit when you're just a warehouse guy with a cheap badge. Right after I snapped the photo, a file popped open by itself. Autoplay. My media player flashed up, and there was a bedroom on my monitor filmed from the foot of a bed. A girl lay on top of the covers, eyes open, not moving, tape on her mouth. Somebody off camera laughed once, low and satisfied. Not a movie laugh, a lazy laugh, like someone enjoying a routine. The camera didn't rush in. It didn't check her. It just watched. That's what hit me hardest. How calm it felt, like whoever filmed it had done this 100 times and didn't even need to think anymore. I slammed the laptop shut so hard it stung my palm. The dock clacked. My chair skidded back. I stood there breathing through my nose, trying not to puke onto the keyboard. My brain tried to bargain. Maybe it was staged, maybe it was fake, maybe I misunderstood. My body didn't buy it. My hands shook like I'd stuck them in a live socket. I kept seeing that tape line across her mouth like a bright, stupid stripe. I went to my supervisor right then. I didn't soften it. I told him I found folders of videos labeled by addresses, and I saw a girl taped up. He didn't even look at first. He kept slapping labels onto a manifest and said those pallets come from auctions, and I should wipe and move on, like I'd told him the printer was jammed. When I said we'd be destroying evidence, he finally looked at me with that tired, mean patience people use on someone being inconvenient. He said I didn't know what I was looking at, that people store weird porn and weird shit, and that if I started causing problems, I'd fuck up a lot of lives, which was such a backwards thing to say. I almost laughed. I pushed harder. I said I was calling the cops. His voice dropped and got colder, like the friendly mask slid off. He warned me, quiet and confident, that I didn't want a reputation for being difficult, that places talk, that I'd never work in this industry again. Not a movie threat, a manager threat. Practical, like he'd watched it work on other people. That was the moment it clicked. He wasn't ignorant. He was practiced. He didn't ask to see the drive. He didn't ask what laptop. He didn't ask anything that sounded like concern. He just wanted me back at my station, wiping like a good little machine. I clocked out early and drove to the police station with my phone sweating in my hand. The front desk guy got serious when I said what it was. A detective took me into a small room that smelled like old coffee and toner and asked me to start from the top. I showed him the photo of the folder names. I told him about the addresses, the waist-height footage, the tape, the laugh, my supervisor ordering me to wipe it anyway. He asked careful questions: brand of laptop, how many folders, how long ago, did I save anything, did I touch anything? I told him the drive was still at my job and they were going to wipe it the second I walked out. He didn't jump up and grab his keys. He wrote things down, slow and neat, like he was building a box around my words so they couldn't leak. He said they'd look into it, and he asked for my info and a copy of the photo. I left there feeling sick and wired, like I'd done the right thing, and also like I'd painted a target on my own back. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that girl stare and that lazy camera angle like it was somebody's hobby. In the morning, I went back to work because, stupidly, I thought showing up would keep things normal until the cops did whatever cops do. My badge didn't scan. Red light. I tried again. Red. One of the guys inside saw me and looked away fast, like eye contact would infect him. I went around to the office door and knocked. My supervisor came out with a calm face that made my skin crawl. He said my paycheck had processing issues and my badge was deactivated by mistake, and I should go home until they sorted it out. He spoke like he was reading off a script. I told him I went to the cops. His calm didn't crack. It got flatter. He said, soft as if he was doing me a favor, that I was not a good fit, and if I kept showing up, I'd be trespassing. No paperwork, no meeting, just erased. I walked back to my car with my ears ringing, like I'd been hit without contact. I sat in the lot and stared at the roll-up door while forklifts beeped inside, and everyone kept working like nothing happened. I called the detective from the parking lot. Voicemail. I left a message with my voice shaking, telling him they locked me out, telling him the drive was still in the building, telling him they were going to wipe it. No call back. I called again later. Same thing. That afternoon, my bank app showed no deposit. The pay stub email still arrived anyway. Marked processing. It felt petty and deliberate, like a squeeze meant to make me desperate and quiet. I called HR. Voicemail. I called payroll. Voicemail. Itaksta kuburke itrusta. He replied with one line. Stop asking, man. They're mad. No details, no sympathy, just distance. I kept checking my mirrors when I drove, kept catching myself staring at the same parked cars like I was being followed. Because once you realize somebody can cut you off that clean, your brain starts filling in the blanks with worst-case shit. That night, a box showed up at my apartment with no return label. It sat right in front of my door like it belonged there. Plain cardboard, clean tape, my name in thick black marker. Not my full legal name, my short name, the one on delivery apps. The one a stranger shouldn't know unless they looked. I carried it inside with 2 fingers and set it on the counter. I checked the peephole. Empty hallway. I listened for footsteps on the stairs. Nothing. I told myself to leave it closed and call the cops again, but my hands moved anyway because that's how fear works. You try to control it, and it drives you like a car. I cut the tape. Inside was a brand new hard drive and a sticky note. You opened it. You're in it. The handwriting was neat, almost polite, which somehow made it worse. The drive was still sealed like it came straight off a shelf, which meant someone spent money just to deliver that sentence to my kitchen. My throat went dry. I didn't plug it in. I didn't even want it in my apartment. I put it back in the box like it was contaminated and washed my hands hard enough to sting. I called the police again and told the dispatcher someone was threatening me after I reported child material for my job. She asked if I was in immediate danger. I said I didn't know, because how do you know when the threat is a cardboard box and a sentence that crawls under your skin? She said an officer would try to come by. The word try landed like a joke. I sat on my couch with the lights off, phone in my hand, listening for the elevator, the stairwell door, anything. Nobody came. At some point, because I needed one solid thing to hold on to, I checked my phone gallery. The picture I took was gone, but the timestamp still sat there like a bruise. I started driving nights for a medical courier company because the pay was better and my rent was late. My role was quiet guy who moves coolers between clinics, and my plan was to run 3 drops, drink 1 gas station coffee, and not fall asleep on the interstate. The depot treated every cooler like it was radioactive. Scan it out, check the seal number, log the temp, keep the chain of custody clean. The whole operation lived inside this route app that judged you like a cop. Green if you behaved, red if you didn't. If you went off route, it pinged. If you sat too long, it pinged. My boss didn't ask how you were doing. He asked why your idle time spiked at 2:17 a.m. By the second week, the hours ate my brain. I'd blink and the road would jump forward like somebody hit fast forward on my life. Headlights smeared. Exit signs popped up too late. I missed turns I could take with my eyes closed, then snapped awake with the rumble strip rattling my teeth. I started doing dumb little violence to stay conscious, slapping my cheek, biting the inside of my lip until it hurt, rolling the window down in winter so the cold would cut through the fog in my head. I kept telling myself I'd adjust because admitting I couldn't do it meant taking the day's shift and falling behind again. Then the radio started screwing with me. The van had a dispatch unit we barely used because everything went through the app, but it still hissed sometimes even when it was off, like there was a leak of noise trapped in the dashboard. At first it was just static, then I heard my name in it. Not a clear voice, not like a person was sitting next to me, more like my name was hiding inside the hiss, and my exhausted brain couldn't stop pulling it out. I'd twist the knob, cut power, smack the dash, and it would keep breathing for a second too long, like it didn't want to let go. I didn't tell anybody. You tell your boss you're hearing things, you're not a driver anymore, you're a liability. The first rail slip happened at 3:40 a.m. I remember the time because I checked it twice, like the number would explain why my stomach went cold. I was on my usual stretch of highway when the route app pinged and rerouted me to a clinic I didn't recognize. It didn't ask. It didn't offer options. It just drew a new blue line and flashed a timer like I was already late. I hesitated with my thumb over the call button. Then I pictured dispatch waking up and treating me like an idiot. So I turned because that's what you do in this job. Obey the line and keep your metrics clean. The roads off the interstate went empty fast. No stores, no gas stations, just orange streetlights that make everything look sick. I pulled into a lot with no other cars. The building looked medical enough from the outside. Bland box, little awning, a sign I couldn't read from the angle. But the windows were black. No lobby glow, no night shift light, nothing. I sat there with my hands on the wheel arguing with myself and still got out because fatigue makes you stupid and routine makes you brave in the worst way. I grabbed the cooler from back. The handle bit into my fingers, cold enough to sting. I walked to the door and pushed. It swung open, unlocked. That should have been the hard stop. Instead, I stepped inside on autopilot, like I was already halfway asleep and my body was just completing tasks. It wasn't a clinic. It was an empty office suite. No front desk, no chairs, no posters, no hand sanitizer station. Plastic sheeting covered the floor in long strips taped down at the edges like someone expected a mess. The air hit me hard, bleach, heavy, and under it that copper penny smell that tightens your throat. It didn't smell like clean. It smelled like somebody trying to erase something that wouldn't erase. My phone buzzed with a reminder to complete the drop, like I was the problem for hesitating. My shoes crackled on the plastic. That sound followed me with every step, soft and constant, like the building wanted proof I'd been there. Then I saw boot prints on the plastic. Vet, fresh, not rainwater, thick wet that left a dull shine. The prints ran toward a back hallway in a straight line. No wandering, no hesitation. My first instinct finally showed up, leave, then the job part of my brain shoved it down. Find a receiving room. Scan. Get out. I told myself I'd just look down the hall, confirm it was the wrong unit. Then I'd call dispatch with a simple explanation and take the lecture. I followed the prints because I was tired and because it felt easier than turning around and admitting I'd walked into something I couldn't explain. The hallway narrowed. The air got colder and damp, like an AC running in a basement. The drip I'd heard got louder. The prints led to a door cracked open. I nudged it wider with my shoulder, and my phone light hit the room, and my whole body locked up. There was a hospital bed in the middle. Not an exam table, a real bed with rails. Restraints hung off the sides, straps with buckles, the kind you cinch down, and they don't come loose unless someone decides they do. A rolling metal tray sat beside it with a heap of used Ford tubing piled up like dead snakes, kinked and damp. There were torn wrappers and little bits of tape scattered like somebody worked fast and didn't care where anything landed. The plastic on the floor had dark specks and smears the bleach hadn't erased, just thinned. I stood there too long, brain stuttering, trying to force a normal explanation into something that wasn't normal. Then I looked down at my cooler because I needed something solid to hold on to. That's when I saw the label. It wasn't there when I left the depot. I would have noticed. It was there now, clean and printed like our own shipping stickers. Return to sender. Under it, my full name. Not initials, not a nickname. My name like it came straight out of the system. My hand started shaking so hard the latch clicked. That sharp little clack sounded like a buckle snapping shut, and it snapped me awake. I set the cooler down without thinking, like it burned me. I backed up, my heels slid on the plastic, and I caught myself on the doorframe with my palm. It came away slick. I didn't look. I didn't want to know what was on me. I turned and ran. I ran back down the hallway, across the empty suite, out the unlocked door, and into the van like it was the only safe thing left in the world. I slammed the door, locked it, started the engine, and shoved it into gear with my hand, shaking so bad I missed it once. I pulled out too fast, expecting someone to step into the doorway behind me. Calm as hell, like I'd forgotten something. Nobody did. The lot stayed dead, and the building stayed dark, like it had never been awake. I grabbed my phone and stared at the map. The route app refreshed like nothing happened. The map showed me cruising on the highway, right on schedule. No detour, no stop. The clinic wasn't even listed anymore. Just my next drop, ETA, improving like I was having a great night. I closed the app and reopened it. Same clean line. I checked recent alerts. Nothing. Like the app swallowed the whole thing and burped out a normal route. I pulled over a mile later and opened the back of the van because I needed to see the cooler again to prove I wasn't losing my mind. The space where it had been was empty. No cooler, no condensation ring, no broken seal tag, just my other bins and a spare blanket. I stood there with trucks roaring past and my hazard lights ticking, and I felt this humiliating thought punch me in the chest. It wasn't just that nobody would believe me, it was that there might not even be anything to believe. The dispatch radio hissed, and through the static, I caught my name again, quiet as a tap on glass. One time, like a reminder, I finished the route because I didn't know what else to do. Every stop after that felt fake. Lights too bright, people too normal. I kept waiting for the app to yank me sideways again. When the sky finally started turning gray, I dragged myself back to the depot with my jaw clenched so hard my teeth hurt. My boss pulled up my GPS history and shoved the screen toward me like it was a courtroom exhibit. Straight highway line, clean timestamps, no detour, no stop. It said I never left the interstate. He didn't laugh. He didn't ask if I was okay. He got pissed, like I was trying to play him. He said trackers don't lie, and if I was taking unscheduled breaks or making up stories to cover it, he'd flag me for safety and I'd be done. I tried to argue, but it came out thin and desperate, and I could see him filing me into the mental category of problem. I went home with my hands still smelling wrong and my head still hearing my name in quiet rooms. At home, I checked my shoes because I needed one piece of proof that I wasn't just cracking. The treads had pale crust ground into them, and when I sniffed it hit like bleach. I scrubbed them in the tub until my shoulders burned. I scrubbed my hands too, over and over with hot water and gritty soap until my skin went raw. The smell wouldn't leave. It sat on me like metal and copper, like pennies rubbed into my palms. But my shoes had bleach on them, and my hands smelled like metal for 2 days, no matter how hard I scrubbed.